Hello everyone, this is Stubby McDoobie. I was looking online for a video on trying to automate cakes from Botania and couldn't really find much, like cake production and turning it into massive amounts of mana. I have a machine that I run that I want a lot of mana for, and the cake thing seemed like a good idea, but couldn't find a lot of useful information about it. So I thought I'd make a video. So this is going to cover, I'm on Feed the Beast Infinity, which is going to cover pretty much everything from start to finish on building a system that will allow you to build cakes to use as a fuel source for powering a machine. And we're pretty much covering cake is our deal today. So we have a fancy little spiel here. Yay, look at that. I do run Feed the Beast Infinity, like I said, and this is my first video, and we're going to just cover cakes. So we'll go into cake production. This is my server here. We're just running, me and my fiance, we run a little server. It's just a small little area. We do run survival mode. We're not creative or anything like that. We just, I don't like to cheat. It's kind of takes the fun out of things, I think. I got some wings that, lovely wings that help me fly. Love those things. But anyways, we'll start off. We got the cake machine over here. This is my big cake machine setup, and it looks complicated and scary, and oh my god, what am I doing? But it's not that scary. This portion is all these ores here. Botania has a flower called the orchid right here that will put ore into stone, but it requires a ton of mana. If I get my wand of the forest here, you can see it's got its own little reserve there. And right now you can see by the bounding box over there, the little blue box right on that mana pool, that's where it's sucking mana from. So that's where I'm gonna need to be fueling up. So this thing sucks a ton of mana, and I have a little machine back here. It's just a timer that ticks so often. You can see the timer ticks and it's under pulse, and I disconnected it right now, but basically what it does is it sends this has a bore on it that will break these two blocks, and then the tick will also trigger those two pistons in the back that will push everything forward. I'll show you real quick just so you can see how it works. But basically it's an infinite ore generation system, but it sucks a ton of mana. So like I said, it'll break the two blocks there, and then I have a hopper hawk picking stuff up. It breaks two more, and then it'll push. You can see the pistons will push forward, and you get new stone, and then the orchid immediately puts ore into the new stone. So like I said, this is going to suck a ton of mana. That's the problem. I could let this thing run forever if I had a ton of cakes, but how do you get a ton of cakes? So I made a video for this because it was an interesting project. So here we go. I want to disconnect this just to save some fuel for now, but we'll let this run again, and it should fill up those last two. Boom, good. All right, so now cake production. We'll start off with real quick the lexicon Botania. The Kekimurus, that's the one. Cake is delicious. Everyone loves it, flowers included. This guy is not, well, it is a little difficult to make. It looks pretty simple here, but this rune of gluttony is kind of a pain. You got to get diamonds, and then a rune of fire, and then a rune of winter, and then a rune of winter requires cakes, and runes of water, and runes of earth, and the rune of water. There's a lot into it. So it is a little bit spendy and stuff, but once you get those Kekimuruses, they're not, I mean, they're good to go, honestly. So I did make a whole bunch of Kekimuruses over here. I have a total of 12 of them, and inside the middle here I have a Ranucarpus. That is a plant that will, let's type in Ranucarpus, pick up any nearby blocks in dropped item form and place them in the world nearby. So that's what we're doing. We're going to be pumping cakes down on top of this flower, and he will place the cakes for us. So the problem then is, how do we get the cakes? So over here we have a very small, we need to actually upgrade this. Me and my fiance have been talking about this. This is our tiny little wheat farm. We have one sitting here that's not automated or anything. We just kind of started the game with that. But this is the automated one. We just have a harvester hooked up that is full of sludge apparently. But we have a sugarcane and wheat farm here, and this harvester will handle both. It'll pull out all the seeds and everything. We have a planter hooked up underneath, which I can show you down here. This is kind of the little guts of the operation. So it's a little bit of a clustered mess, but we got power coming in here and also item conduits. I'm not going to go through all the details of the item sorting and everything. You guys can figure that stuff out. Basically, this is just my setup of how I'm getting wheat and sugar cane and everything. So cake requires, what is it? Milk, sugar, eggs, and wheat. So we've got the sugarcane farm here with the wheat and sugar covered. We also need something to handle eggs. That is the Super Coop 9000. Right there. Super Coop. My girlfriend, my fiance, she came up with this idea. She's got a bunch of chickens she went out and grabbed. And you can use trap doors like this, and it actually works amazingly well because the chickens are in there living their happy life in their cramped quarters. And when they do lay an egg, it kicks, there's one, just popped right out. I just heard it. It kicks it out this bottom section if you're using slabs. She's got, you can see on the tooltip on Wayla there's a slab there. These are planks, but this is a slab. It's just a half block. So when they're on a half block, that trap door lets the egg come out and just land out here. And then we have a hopper hock hooked up. If you put an item frame on a chest, it'll say all eggs go in this chest. And then I have like an import system you can kind of barely see down there. It's just a item conduit pulling them out and putting the eggs where they need to be. So yeah, the hopper hawk, I love this thing. It picks up, it's got a nice big range too. I got a mana pool set up over here for it so that you can see it's connected to that mana pool there. And you can kind of see the little pink sparks coming. It's being fed mana. So yeah, if you give it some mana, it doesn't, I don't think it requires mana actually. It just increases the range that it can pick things up from if you give it mana. But this thing picks up all the eggs and just stuffs them in there and good to go. And I have a small AE system here that I'm just using for managing like the wheat and the sugarcane and the eggs. So we have wheat and sugar and eggs. What about milk? Well, Bessie over here is getting milked to death. We were going to try to put 2 autonomous activators in here, but this one, I got it set to pump buckets and everything in, but it's not actually getting it because I think this is the closer preferred location. It's fewer pipes to actually get to. So this autonomous activator is the only one that's actually doing anything. I could probably remove these and put another fence in there. But the autonomous activator, as you can see, is doing nothing right now, unfortunately, because at the moment we're stalled out. I do need to ramp up my production. Like I said, this is my current storage. I have eggs and sugar, but I'm completely out of wheat. And this is our auto crafter. I'll explain in a minute, but here's where all our milk buckets are currently hanging out. So we got a whole bunch of milk buckets, but basically that autonomous activator, you just set it to right click mode. And I had it set originally to first slot only and just put the buckets in there, but the problem is like this thing works so quickly, it'll right click over and over, and sometimes you can see the cow is actually swimming in her own milk. There's a puddle in there. She's swimming. So sometimes it'll dump the milk out and you'll have an empty bucket, and then sometimes the buckets will change places, and so it's really best. There it goes. You can see a bunch of buckets just came in, so the buckets will come in and out, and they'll cycle through. It's best to have this on round robin though, because if you put it on like the first slot only, it'll leave that first bucket there, but then occasionally the buckets will end up loading into these slots here, and then you don't actually get the empty bucket in this slot. So I just put it on round robin. It really doesn't slow it down at all. It still goes pretty quick, and then we're just pumping empty buckets in and pulling milk buckets out, and then dumping them basically. A little bit of lag there, sorry. We're basically just dumping them straight into our guy over here, the assembler. So they're getting pumped right into here. Now this is, you can have your storage however you like it. I had an issue trying to figure out how to get the recipe for cake is 3 milk buckets, which they don't stack, so it's kind of a hard thing to do. So I was just dumping as many as I can in here, but the problem I was having was the eggs, the wheat, and the sugar. if you have a huge supply of it and you just start pumping it in, they're going to fill up all of these slots, and then there's going to be no slots for milk buckets. That's where these guys come in. I love these things. They're called translocators. Until I found out that they existed, I was very sad panda. Now I am happy panda. So what they do basically, they can only transfer very short distances. You can see, well, I think they can be upgraded to transfer further, but the way they're set up now, they're only transferring short distances. So I'm going to actually start a real quick show you how to do this. If you have two barrels or two inventories of any kind, oh, that one got upside down, that's a whatever. So we'll put, like, I don't know, dirt in this one, and the other one will be empty. We'll put some translocators. I'll go grab a couple here out of the AE system. Translo, don't have any. I might have to make some. We'll make 2 of these guys. You get 2 of them at a time, which is nice. And then what you're going to want also for this particular thing is some diamond nuggets. I think I have some left over, yeah. But that's basically just a diamond. You know, you get your that's part of the mod. So if you have the translocator mod, very handy. This thing is awesome. What you can do is you put the translocator between, you put one on each side, and you can see they have like little buttons. If you have an open hand, you don't have anything in your inventory here, if you push the button, it'll go in, and you can see it's output and input. So what it just did in regular mode, I don't have it upgraded or anything, it's just transferring one to the other. So that's now input. We'll set this one to output, and it'll move everything over. But let's say you only want 3. Ooh, I don't want my pickaxe in there. Give me that back. You only want 3 of them in there. So that's where this comes in. You take a diamond nugget, and right on the, you can see on the bounding boxes here, there's this one, and then there's this one. So if you put a diamond nugget on this, it upgrades it and changes it from like just a filtered mode. If you right click on this, on the actual square part, it's a filter in unupgraded mode. But once you put this diamond thing on there, that filter becomes a regulator, which is awesome. So now if I were to take some dirt out of here, I'm just going to take 3 of them for example, and we'll go into this filter here, and we will say we only want dirt, and we only want 3 of them. Now when this one is set to input, it's only going to accept 3 dirt. Oh, I lied. Look at that. Why is it not working like that? How did I have it set up? Regulate. Oh, maybe it's the other way. I think it's going to only send 3. No, I'm lying. Let me go look at how I have it set up over here real quick. Over here we have this one. Sugar is set up input to 3, and this one is just a filter just pulling out. So I don't know why it's not working up there. I have it set up exactly the same way. This is the input. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it was right. I just looked at it wrong. So now it's only going to accept 3 at a time, or it'll keep 3 if you have the regulator on there. That's what it is. So this inventory wanted, yeah, it'll keep 3 in that inventory. There, that's how it works. So that's how I have it set up. I keep 3 of the any 3 wheat, 3 wheat, 2 sugar, and 1 egg. That's how I have the regulators all set up. So there's, well, actually 3 eggs, but just enough to keep 1 slot basically, so that the rest of the slots can be taken up by milk buckets. That's how that's working. So we got that covered. That's how this is actually, you can use any auto crafter unit that you like, but I like this one just because it keeps the recipe. And this one in particular, what add-on is this? This is used from RF Tools. You can see on the waylet tip there. This one in particular, you set up the recipe and it's like a ghost recipe. It doesn't actually use the items, but the output portion down here, the reason I use this one is because it handles the buckets really well, and it's outputting both the cakes that are being made and the empty buckets back out into the chest. So you get your buckets back, and then I have the buckets imported into the AE system, and then they go back up there into the cow milking thing, and that's all that. So she gets to swim in her own fun. Alright, so we're building cakes. We have the AE system. I have like 4,900 of them. What I'm doing here is I'm just exporting all the cakes right to a fun chest. Look at that. That looks like birthday heaven right there. So this ender chest is pink, white, pink. We got another ender chest right over here with pink, white, pink. And the way I have this set up is it's literally just an item conduit pulling everything out into a open crate from Botania. An open crate functions where it will drop stuff directly straight down, which is awesome. It doesn't like throw over there or over there. Straight down on top of the flower, which we need it to be on the flower. And the only time it will work is if it has no redstone signal. So a redstone signal will turn it off. So that's the way we have all this redstone stuff set up. This is my fun mana portion. I want this thing to have mana, and I need it to run off of cakes, but I only want it to run when these mana pools, there's 4 of them, 1 there, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 of them in a big square type thing. So those 4 mana pools, when they're full, I don't want to be wasting cakes and dropping them down on that flower and having them just disappear. That would suck. So when these 4 mana pools are full, I want it to turn off. The way we're going to accomplish that, we're going to do it 4 times. Oh, excuse the dog. 4 times. We have a mana pool here, and this is just a redstone comparator. It's from the Project Red integration, but you can use a vanilla comparator as well. So we got the mana pool is the input, and then the output. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have 15 redstone here, and the reason for that is when the mana pool is completely full, it will emit a full redstone signal of 15. So once it hits this point, right now this one, actually let me look here real quick at this mana pool. See, that's just a little bit shy of full, so this last redstone isn't lighting up. We have a power of 0 right there. So that's over here. This one is also 0. This one is also, so this one, see, has reached 1. So this one, this mana pool is completely full. You can see there. So it's giving a whole full 15 signal, and it's the whole signal is getting right to this point. So if the mana pool is full, I want it to emit a signal to this thing. It's going to be a repeater. It's just going to extend this signal along. I have that hooked up to a NOT gate to toggle it. Now this is where it gets just a little bit confusing because we have 4 mana pools. We want to tie them all together. So to tie them together, we need to put them into an AND gate. We're going to say this mana pool, this signal, and this signal together. We want to combine them. So you can see like this one, this line coming up here is going into this AND gate, and you can see the inputs. I have a lever on the bottom that's just always going to be on because an AND gate requires 3 inputs. So basically that one's just always going to be on. All I'm worried about though is this input and this input. When these 2 are together, I'm kind of tweaking out here. You'll see why in a minute, but when these 2 together are both on, then it should emit a redstone signal forward. That's going to get fixed. I'll fix that in a minute. So when this one is also full, it will emit a signal. Basically how it goes though is, so this AND gate here and this AND gate here are tied together into another AND gate. So the left AND gate covering 2 mana pools, the right AND gate covering 2 mana pools, and then I got another lever here obviously just covering that back input. Those are going to go into the final output, and these come down here into a timer. I've got a NOT gate. I don't know why I did a double negative. I've got 2 NOT gates, but they'll come down into a timer. So when this one is emitting a signal, it will start the timer, and the timer I have set up to 65 seconds because it's a long timer for the Kekimurus to actually eat the cake once it's dropped. But this timer is going to control the dropping of the cakes, and once the timer goes, this crate also needs a little bit of time for the signal. Once the signal is turned off, it needs a little bit of time to realize, oh, the signal's off, I should be dropping cakes. So I put a repeater in here and I set it on a long delay, and that'll make, once the timer ticks, every time this thing spins around and gets all the way through, it'll hit this and then it'll turn this off for like 5 seconds or something, 4 or 5 seconds. And this being off for 4 or 5 seconds will drop all of the cakes down here. And then it'll turn back on and stop the dropping of the cakes until the next 65 seconds goes by and we need more cakes. So we'll demonstrate this here and show you kind of how it works. I'm going to get some red alloy wire and hook this guy back up. This timer is pushing the pistons and stuff, and it's going to make the, once I hook this up, it's going to cause the orchid to consume a ton of mana, and these mana pools will start draining. I have these sparks hooked up. Sparks are awesome for transferring mana without having to use mana spreaders. These are regular sparks. You just put them right on top of a mana pool, and then down here, these sparks, you can see there's like a little Chinese symbol type thing. They're upgraded with a spark upgrade. There's 4 different kinds. The ones that I'm using for these are the dominant ones. The dominant upgrade, you just put a spark on a mana pool and then put the dominant upgrade on it. Any sparks nearby that don't have any upgrades, this mana pool will pull mana from anything that doesn't have a dominant upgrade, basically. So these, all 4 of these are just regular sparks, and they feed into the 2 dominant ones. I have a redstone mana spreader here. Oop, I just took the bore lens off. Put that back on there. There you go. So the bore lens is just to break it. It's just going to take a little bit of mana. It really doesn't use a lot. When you're producing that much with that many Kekimuruses, and again, I never did show you the each Kekimurus. I have each one set up to its own mana spreader. You can see that the front one is hooked up to the right. The middle one is hooked up to the middle, and then this left one to the left, and I did that for all of them. So they're all hooked up to their own mana spreader. 12 Kekimuruses and 12 mana spreaders, and I probably should be using Gaia ones, but I haven't fought the Gaia boss yet. So each one feeds its own thing. So now let's test this out. We'll throw some wire on here. We'll connect the circuit, and once we get this tripping, we'll start breaking stuff here. The Hopper Hawk is picking stuff up. I have a friendly little trolley cart that's picking stuff up and putting it over into my main network over there. But this, there we go. We'll start using up some mana. Now we'll see over here. You can see the mana actually coming out of the sparks there and flowing into the mana pool down below, filling it up. So now you can see this redstone signal right here has a power of 0, but here it has a power of 1. That means this thing is almost full, not completely full, but enough to not quite make it here, which is going to trigger this whole system and cause it to, down here, say, look at, the timer is running. You can see the timer very slowly spinning. Once it gets to the bottom, it will trigger this to turn off, and it'll drop some cakes. Now, we've used up all the residual cakes that I had planted here. And by the way, you can see I have dirt blocks here. That's because underneath the Ranucarpus, 1 block below it, so if I go like this, if I put a, if this torch was a Ranucarpus, this dirt block down here tells the Ranucarpus, there's our cakes dropping out, you can see. So it turns back on and it stops dropping them. Now the Ranucarpus is going to place the cakes on the dirt blocks, because if, like I said, if this torch was a Ranucarpus, you put a dirt block below, and this dirt block is the block that the Ranucarpus will plant things on. It says any blocks nearby that look like this, plant cakes on them. So I put dirt blocks all over. So now it knows where to plant. See, there you go. Look at that. It even said, hey, there's a dirt block. I'll plant a cake there. It's not real picky. So we'll break that real quick. I wasted a cake, but it's okay. We have a couple thousand. So now these guys are just munching. They're going to town, and you can see the mana just spreading. We're just generating mana like crazy. Unfortunately, it's still like sucking mana down, and you can see it's all filling. It's filling this guy up, no problem. This is the one that's feeding into the orchid. and it's staying pretty full, no problem, because we got 4 of them feeding into it. But again, like I said, this thing, it does drain still. We're still draining. So we are going to have to ramp up some cake production as far as I'm concerned. I timed it and we went, it was about 550 cakes in about a half hour is what we went through. So to power this, I'd honestly like to put another orchid in here and speed up the timer for this to make it like push faster. We could push this even down to like 2 seconds. Watch. But the thing is that little orchid won't keep up, and we'll start getting regular stone blocks, and it doesn't plant them. It doesn't put ore into them quick enough. So we could have like a whole bunch of orchids down this line. I don't have the resources to do that yet, but if we had, I could take this whole system and multiply it times 2 and put another one over here, or multiply it times 4 and put like one over there, and have a ton of mana production and just have a line of orchids. See, now we're like all in stone here, so I got to turn this thing back to 5. So I got it set to 530. That's about right for cycling, but yeah. So this is just one orchid. It's sucking down mana like crazy. Those cakes, they're going nom 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 over. They're just munching. So it's just dumping. And you'll see up here the timer. Where's the timer at? It's at about half right now. Oh, let me get around this block. It's at about half right now. So there's still cakes on the ground down there. It just got done dumping all the cakes. And actually I could probably put a few more in, but once the timer ticks again, we'll watch. Get over here. It'll turn the repeater on for a couple seconds, and which will toggle the switch there. So we'll get right down here, give it about 10 seconds or so, and it'll pulse just once. There's our pulse, and it turned it off for just a second. Dropped a bunch of cake. There's our off. Drop a bunch of cakes. Plant all the cakes. Eat all the cakes. Make all the mana. All the fun. And again, like I said, I don't have enough orchids to even, you know, I don't even want to plant another orchid because I can't keep up the mana at this point. But this is nice mana production. This is I have 4 mana pools here, 2 mana pools down there, and they're all being filled. And they're all being filled with tons and tons of mana. You know how long it normally takes to fill up 1 mana pool? We're filling up 6 of them. So this is a nice setup. Cake. So if you guys liked the video, comment, subscribe. I don't know. It's my first video. My girlfriend and I, my fiance, we may do more videos. Something maybe like a super coop. I don't know. We have a lot to show you guys, but yeah, that's my cake production. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.